There's a song in my heart because of you. My romance had its start. Because of you, the sun will shine. The moon and stars will say you're mine forever and never to part. I only
My name is Eleanor Villella. I'm 89 years old, and I live in Lockport, New York at 6846 Lock Haven Drive, 14094.
like this because of you. My life is now worthwhile, and I can smile because
The background of my family is Irish. My father was born in England of Irish descent, and my mother was born in Scotland of Irish descent. And they met in Scotland and married there in 1920. And my two oldest brothers were born in Scotland. I have 6 brothers. One of them is still, I call him my baby brother Tommy. He doesn't like that all the time, but I do it anyways. And my other 5 were older than me, but they've all passed. Did you want their names?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. My oldest brother was James, and then Francis. And then when the kids all called Uncle Shorty, his name was John, but everybody called him Shorty.
Why do they call him Shorty?
You know, when he was little, I guess he was real short, and he never really did grow much. So he kept that name, and I always refer to him as my brother Shorty. My father, I think, my father and my brother Jim were the only ones that ever called him John. We all called him Shorty, right? And then then Joe, and then Chuck, and then me, and Tommy.
So you're the second youngest.
I'm the only girl, obviously. Yeah.
That must have been quite the house growing up.
It was. My older brothers were that much older than me that they kind of doted on me. My one brother, Franny, called me Butch. And my other brother, my baby brother Tommy, he lives here in Lockport, and I have a lot of contact with him.
That's good.
And his wife. You know, I went to Catholic schools my whole life. I went to St. John's Elementary for 8 years, and then I went to St. Joseph's Academy for girls, taught by the nuns for 4 years. And in my junior year, the starting of my junior year, I met my husband, Anthony.
How old were you? Wait, what?
We were 16
Oh my gosh.
at a street dance on the big bridge.
On the big bridge.
Yeah, Jackie Deal's orchestra was playing. That was very popular when we were kids. They would close.
An orchestra?
And they would close the bridge, the streets,
Oh my gosh.
and
And where was this?
down on the big bridge in Lockport. It's right above the canal. And we were 16 when we started to date.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
And that would have been what year?
We met in 1951. We were married in 1954.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You got married when you were 20.
I was 19.
You were 19. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Very young. Yeah. Had my oldest daughter, Rita. I was 21 when she was born.
Wow.
And then the twins.
That was your first family.
There was the 2 and 3. I called them 2A and 2B, Gina and Judy. I was 23 when they were born.
Wow.
And then Lynn, I think I was 26. And Karen, I was 28. And Nancy, I was 30. We had 6 girls in 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the house.
They were fun. They were all good girls.
Yeah.
They still are. They're very busy, but they all have nice families.
What are some of your favorite memories from when they were growing up? Like, what were the kinds of things that they did that would get on your nerves?
Favorite memories? I don't know. I think when I was in high school, I made, we had 36 in our class. In my senior class, there was 36. And I made a lot of friends and that I still have. And a couple of them I still play golf with. And we, I don't know, it's going back.
Yeah, many years.
We lived after Nanny and I got married. My husband, your papa, my Nanny, you know that.
Yeah.
And we lived down on the hill. We had an apartment upstairs for my mother-in-law and father-in-law, who were just great people. And we lived there for 7 years.
And that's when you first got married?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Nanny built our house out on Fairview Drive. And then he got on the sheriff's department and did stuff there and was elected sheriff in 1970. And we were there for 15 years.
Wow.
Lived next door to the jail. I always got teased that my neighbors were not the best, but they were, though. We had some really nice neighbors, even though they were in jail.
What did you do with the people in jail?
Well, the trustees would come over to our house. We had a pool and help clean the pool and took care of the yard. And they did a lot of work around the house, not in the house, but around it. And the funny thing is, when we first moved there, I thought, gee, taking these little girls there, they were very young. And how is this going to work out? So we kept them in Roy Hart. That's where the school system they were in. We didn't put them in the Lockport school system. We kept them in Roy Hart. And I think that's what worked out best for them, because they kept the same friends, and the parents knew us and were not afraid to let their children come to our house next to the jail.
Yeah.
But that's, and he said favorite things when I was growing up, we did a lot of, I don't know, we used to walk. Nobody had a car. I didn't learn to drive till I was 30.
Wow.
Well, you didn't have a car, you don't drive,
After
right?
all the kids were born. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
after Nancy was born, your mother. That's when I learned to drive. Out of survival, to get out of the house, I guess. But we didn't have a car. And growing up, my parents didn't have a car. My brothers, the older ones, they did when they were older. And they bought their own cars, I guess. We walked everywhere. We would walk from one end of the city to the other just to go to a baseball game, or just to go visit a friend over in the north end, because Lockport's not that big, but we walked everywhere.
How many miles would that be from one end of the city to the other?
Oh, God. I don't know. Probably 7 or 8, 10 miles. I don't know. I'm not much good with distance.
But it would
But-
take you a while, I guess.
Yeah, it did. But it didn't matter,
Right.
because we did. And nobody was afraid of the dark at that time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you weren't afraid to let your daughters or sons, or we'd always meet up with other people. We go over to the north end to baseball games. My husband's uncle was part owner of the Lockport Reds baseball team. It was a AAA at that time. And we would go over there with Dorothea, and she'd sneak us into the baseball games. And I mean, that was fun for us.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. Ice skating and roller skating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun. So it was just a lot of like hanging out in public spaces and
Yeah.
common spaces.
Yep. In the school that I went to with St. Joseph's Academy, the girls were from the whole city, some from outside of the city, so it gave us a chance to know other people other than St. John's was, right here in the East End. But when in high school, we got to know from all over the city, And we did a lot of things with DeSales, the boys' high school that grandfather went to. We interacted in plays, and of course we sort of supported their sports and stuff. A lot of
Like
stuff.
a sister school.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, we had a good teenage years. There was a lot of our friends have passed, but I'm still here.
Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, and my father, they called Scotty because of his brogue. He never lost his Scottish brogue, and neither did my mother.
Really?
Yeah, and when friends would come to my house, there's still a lot, when we have reunions and that, they talk about coming to my house and my mother and father talking with their Scottish brogue. Yeah, they did. Yeah. My father worked in the coal mines in in Scotland. And then when he worked at Harrison's, he worked at Harrison's for 42 years.
What is Harrison's?
Harrison Radiator in Lockport. They made air conditioners and radiators for cars. And then he worked in the steel cutting crib. Of course, so, and then being in the coal mines, he ended up with COPD. But it didn't hurt him too. I mean, he had it, but he didn't need oxygen or anything like that. But what else do you want to know?
So you said that your oldest brothers were born in Scotland. Where were you born?
In Lockport.
In Lockport.
55 Adams Street. I wasn't born in the hospital.
Wow.
No, I was born in a house.
Oh my gosh.
55 Adams Street.
And what is the distance in age between you and your oldest brother?
My oldest brother? I think 15 years, I think it's 15.
Wow.
Is that right? There's 9 years between me and my youngest brother.
Really?
Yeah, my
So
brother Tommy is 9 years a month and 5 days younger than me.
So there's 24 years between the sons, or all the kids?
My brother Tommy was born when all my brothers were in the service.
Oh my gosh.
They were all in. My 4 oldest brothers were in the Second World War. And my brother Tommy was born in 1944. So they were all still in the service when he was born.
Wow.
Yeah. I had 6 brothers, and they all served in the military. The 4 older ones in the Second World War. And my brother Joe was in 3 wars. He was in the Second World War, the Korean, and the Vietnamese War. Obviously a lifetime sailor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he was in the Navy, or was he in the
Navy.
military? Navy.
He was a boiler technician. He worked underneath.
Oh,
He was
wow.
in he was on the USS Worcester. It was a destroyer. I don't think it's in commission anymore. But and they all came home.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah.
Chuck was in Korea, and he got shrapnel right near his eyes, right here on his face. But that's about it for as far as them getting hurt, which was great.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like in the world interacting with people around the time of those wars? Like, you know how like today we have like a really like divisive political
Well, we had
climate?
gas rationing. We had food rationing. It was difficult to. You got cards or tickets or something. If you had a car, you could only have so much gas. Food, the sugar, coffee you couldn't get. Trying to think of the others. My mother had a booklet that she had to take to the store when she went. And her friends all loved her because we didn't drink coffee in our house, and she had always had coffee. Coupons to give it to her friends. But I don't know, it was a quieter time for people, I think. They did more family-wise than they do now. I don't know. I think it was a softer time.
Mm.
There was not the Facebook meanness that you see now. You know, I don't know. I don't think people were. They liked their neighbors. They were friendly with their neighbors, and
Seems
I
very
guess we go to a movie twice a week. Go to the Rialto. They had cereals. Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and all them now cereals, and it cost us 12 cents to go to the Rialto and 16 cents to go to the Palace.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get anything for that much anymore.
Yeah, you can't even get a candy bar.
Yeah.
You know.
That's like 4 candy bars.
Yeah. It was.
Or 4 tickets, I mean.
Mm-hmm. It was different. It was, like I said, my brothers were gone when I was in the growing up, really. I was 9 when Tommy was born, and they were all in the service. So it was a quiet time. It was a very quiet time.
Was it scary?
We had blackouts, and my father was an air raid warden. And when the sirens would go off, you had to put your black shades down, turn off all the lights, and yeah, it was scary. And then my father's out on the street, walking up and down the street, making sure that everybody's got their lights off. And
Wow.
it was a different kind of a scary, though. I don't think we were afraid that anything was going to happen. We just knew that we were practicing, I guess. I don't recall being upset by it.
Wow.
My girls, when they were in grade school, they were going underneath the desk and closing their eyes and everything. But that, of course, the atomic bomb had already gone off, so everybody was afraid that it was going to come here.
Yeah.
And
How old were you when that happened?
when the atomic bomb?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really recall. Probably 17 or 18, around there.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of when it was. It was Harry Truman, right? So he was elected when I was in 8th grade. So probably around 16, 17, yeah. Yeah.
Sheesh. That's quite a crazy time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a scary time for everybody, the whole world. They 2 bombs, didn't they hit?
So you met Papa in the middle of World War II?
They what?
So you met Papa in the middle of World War II?
Yeah, 51, after World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There was, like I said, we met at a street dance. In fact, he was with some guys from DeSales, and there was 4 or 5 of us from the academy that we were just talking, and Dick Hadley and John Furlong, or Fran Furlong, introduced us, and I used to tell Dick every time I'd see him, I'd introduce him to the girls, and I'd say, he introduced me to your father, and Dick would say, yeah, and he hasn't spoken to me since. But there was just, we just had good friends, and we just did things we didn't need. Always Friday night dances and Saturday night dances at the Y, and it was just a different time.
Yeah.
You can't even find a teenage dance place anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have that when I was growing up.
Some of the teachers at Roy Hart worked at the Y when I was going to the Y dances. They were just 2 or 3 years older than me, and they would take our coats and give us a coat check, you know. And then when our girls, Rita and Jean and Judy, got to high school, a couple of the teachers were a couple of those guys that were taking our coats. It was really strange.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. My father came to America. They were married in 1920, and my brother Jim was born in 1921. And a few months later, my father, I guess, decided he was coming to, his aunt lived in Pennsylvania, and she sponsored him to come over and get a job in the United States. And he came over, and not knowing that my mother was pregnant for Franny. So she had Franny, and my father was over here in Pennsylvania. His aunt, like I said, his aunt sponsored him. And it was hard to get a job there, and on his way over, he met this man, Bill Devine, that was coming into Buffalo. And he told my father that if you can't get a job, you know, in where you're going, come to Buffalo and I know I can get you a job. So my father did. He left Pennsylvania and came up to Buffalo, and this friend of his got him a job there, and he saved enough for my mother and the 2 kids to come over. I think that was in 1924. Yeah.
And how did they get here?
Well, he got a job. They had a hard time in Buffalo, and he got a job at St. Bridget's Church in Newfane as the caretaker, and my mother was the housekeeper for the priest down there in Newfane. And he was there for 2 or 3 years, and he applied to Harrison's and got a job at Harrison Radiator. And he used to walk. You probably don't know where St. Bridget's Church is, but he used to walk to the next road and then over to 78, which is probably about 3 miles. And he'd walk that every day and get a trolley to come up to Harrison, up here on Washburn Street, and then take the trolley home and walk back. He's quite a walker, my dad.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then he saved enough to get place in Lockport, out on the west end. And then they moved to Adams Street, where I was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did your childhood house look like?
It was a small house. It's still there. It's still there. And the owners lived next door, are my godparents. Well, they've passed now, but they were my godparents, and I was named after their two daughters, Eleanor and Elizabeth. And their last name was Morris, and it's really funny because now Stephanie is married to a Morris.
Same family?
But from, where is Jason from? Cortland. No relation.
Oh, wow. Same.
But going around, yeah, yeah. It was a small house, very small. And not much room when there was 6 kids there.
How many bedrooms?
I don't recall. I think there was 3, but I don't recall.
Wow.
Because then they moved to a bigger house after I was born, after I was a little older, on Walnut Street. They moved a lot now that I think about it. They never. And my father always walked to work, always, no matter where they lived. He always walked, really. Yep. My sister-in-law, my brother Franny, married a girl from England. Also, she was an English war bride. And I remember going on the bus with my brother Franny, my mother, and my brother Tommy was just a baby at the time, maybe a year old. And we took a bus to New York City and got Kathleen off of the boat, or ship that she came on.
Oh my God, so at Ellis Island must have been.
It was what?
Ellis Island must have been.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, yeah. She was quite a girl too. I loved my sister-in-law.
What did New York City look like when you were that old?
Do you know what I remember about New York City at that time and being that age? We were walking, Kathleen and my mother and Franny and I know Tommy was with us. We were walking on Park Avenue. I don't know how we got there, but I remember walking down and seeing this. I couldn't get over how big the department stores were. And the one place that I remember after all these years, and I always remembered it, and I'll tell you why, was Beck Shoe Store. And I don't know if Beck Shoe Store is still around, but it was a big shoe store. And they had all these shoes in the window, and I mean, coming from Lockport, seeing something like that. And my sister-in-law, Kathleen, she's looking at them, and she saw this pair of shoes, and she says, "Oh, wedgies." And there was the name of the shoe, and the heel was like this. It was kind of like this, but have a wedgie. And she just loved them. So Franny went in and bought them for her. And I said, I swear she wore them forever. I swear she did. They probably buried her in them because she just loved those shoes.
Oh.
Yeah.
From Beck's Shoe Store.
Yeah, Beck. Look and see, Tom. See if there's a Beck Shoe Store.
While I look it up, I'm gonna make sure.
Yeah, that's it. Beck. Oh my God. Still there.
That's an old photo. About that looks pretty recent.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes. Oh my God, I can't believe it's still there. Beck Shoe Store. So that had to be in, let's see, she came over
It's
and
like 34th Street, so that's Midtown.
she had to come over, 1945 that was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That is funny.
Wow.
It's still
So,
there.
was that your first time in New York?
Yes, yes.
Did you do a lot of other traveling when you were young?
No, I didn't. We pretty homebodies. My mother and father didn't. A big day for us, for my mother and me, when I was growing up, was to get a bus and go to Buffalo. And the Buffalo terminal, bus terminal, was right next door to Shea's Buffalo, the theater. We're not next door, it's a couple doors down, but in between there was a restaurant that my mother and I would always go to. We always went to a movie at that Shea's. It was the movie theater at the time. And there was a store that we went to that she used to buy my clothes at. No, not Gold Tone. It's Gold something. Gold. I don't know, but it was a children's store, and my mother always dressed me like a little girl.
So, this is a bit of a broader question, and a bit of a two-part question. So, in your lifetime, what would you say is like the defining feature of society that's happened in your lifetime?
The defining feature of society in my lifetime.
It can be an event, it can be...
I think the things that the gay people, being able to be themselves and coming out. When I was a kid, there was no, they called them queer. I didn't know what a queer was. I had no idea, but that's what and nobody would bother with them. Nobody would have anything to do with them. And now they finally getting a place, being able to walk down a street, well, not always, but better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be civil rights in general?
Oh, absolutely, civil rights. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And I think the churches also have loosened up on their, I mean, being brought up a Catholic, we were told we couldn't go into a Protestant church, which is ridiculous, because then we, like I always said, here we were with our catechism, the Baltimore Catechism, and one of the things is, where is God? And the answer is, God is everywhere. But he must not have been in the Protestant churches, because we weren't allowed to go in there. And they didn't want you to go to the Y. Catholics didn't want us to go to the Y, because the Young Men's Christian Association, you know, but
But you did anyway for the dances.
hmm?
But you did anyway for the dances.
Oh yeah, we did. We did. It was, a lot of things have changed. And women didn't work at that time. During the war is when they started to go to work in the factories. In fact, when the soldiers came home, they didn't have any jobs because the women were working. They had to put in more jobs, I guess. I don't know.
And okay, so this is a little bit more of a narrow question. What would you say is a defining feature of your personal life versus the world? Like, so something major that's happened in your life, what would be the defining?
Something major that happened in my life.
Defining. So
Defining.
similarly to civil rights with the world, what's the defining feature of your personal life?
I really, I don't, we had so many things. I don't know, I think my, here I go. I think having my girls, I really do, because they're so great. And I can't think of anything else that was any. I had a wonderful husband. I have 6 beautiful daughters. And 17 grandsons, which are the baby. 3 granddaughters, you know. I guess that's the defining feature of my life is my family. You got me going here, you know. It's not fair. It's not fair. Kleenex over there, I think.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
Thank you.
Here, I'll put it over.
Oh no, you're not going to do this. But really, I think that's really the best thing that ever happened to me was having my family. And now they have their families and they're all doing well.
Yeah. But it comes from the top. It comes from the top.
Yep, that's what they say. That's what Grandpa always used to say. Whenever there's any problems, he says, hey, it all comes from the top. Always comes from the top. Well, he was the top. He was. You know that. We were with you a long time.
Yeah.
You got to have some easier questions.
Okay. Okay. I do have an easier one. So, I was thinking about how, in your life, you were born even before most of modern technology was around.
1935, yeah.
Did you even have TVs when you were born?
We had the first television that we had was, I think 15. I think I was in a freshman or my sophomore in high school. before we had a television. And I remember it was a Philco, and it was 12 inches wide, and it was like this here, round, like that, black and white.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. Even when we got married in '54, there still was no color television, and it was hard to get. In fact, it was hard to get a television at that time. They were so expensive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what did you watch on the TV?
What did I watch? Ed Sullivan. I don't know. I don't think there was anything special that we watched. And we listened. When I was growing up, we always had the radio on, and we listened to Fibber McGee and Molly, and Eddie Cantor. What is it? Fred Waring and his orchestra. There was, I remember more of the radio than I do of television growing up. I don't think I paid that much attention to it.
And how did that kind of change as you grew older? Because obviously technology had quite a bit of a boom.
Oh my God. You're asking me about technology. I mean, that's a joke. You have to tell me how to turn on a television or something. I'm confused when it comes to technology. I've got my little iPad, and I read my books on it. To me, that's really advanced technology.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, but that's about it. I don't know what other technology. I've never been much for cars or anything like that. We've always had just a normal car. We didn't have SUVs and all that when we were. And like I said, we didn't have a car when I was growing up, and I was 30 before I learned how to drive.
And how did things evolving kind of impact your relationships with your family and such? I'm thinking specifically about cell phones and phones, and like when things became mobile and you could talk to people wirelessly. How did that change things?
You know me and the cell phone. It's a joke. I think it's great. I really do think it's great. I mean, like I said last night when we were sitting at the table, everybody had their cell phone and they were doing something with it, and I was laughing because I just saw a movie about everybody sitting at the table with the cell phone, and the one woman got up and got a basket and made them all put cell phones in there so that they could talk. We don't have that problem though, but probably are times that they're used. I mean, our family is never. They usually they're too interested in eating. But I have a cell phone, and I don't always know where it is. I don't always answer it, but everybody knows that, so they don't bother me.
Yeah. I always know where my phone is. I wish I didn't.
I know.
I have to.
The girls, my daughters, they come in, every one of them, they got that cell phone in their hand, and I think, why do you have to carry that cell phone with you? Why don't you just put it down? Oh, well, what if somebody needs me? Well,
What did you do when they needed you
I don't know. Maybe they'll need you. I don't bother with mine because I said if there's any emergency or anything going around, nobody's going to call me. They're going to come right to the door and get me.
Right.
So I don't even, like I said, I don't even know where the cell phone is half the time. Last year, Uncle James Newman's brother was in town, Ed, and his cell phone, his wife, he lives in Texas, and his wife was in Texas. He was here. He could tell every place that she was going on his cell phone, and Judy said, and she could tell wherever he was going on her cell phone, and Aunt Judy said, well, why would you do that to start with, And he says, well, you could do that with your mother. He said, I could set you up so that you could do that so that you know where your mother is. And she said, but the only problem there is my mother never knows where her cell phone is. So she won't be able to tell me, or the cell phone won't be able to tell me anything because she doesn't know where it is. And he said, oh my God. But that's true.
You have it with you.
I'm not much for technology. I love what you're doing here. I'm impressed with it. I know you're doing well. I think all the kids are doing well. I really do. I think we got a good bunch of
Yeah.
nephews and nieces, and I think they're doing very well. I can't think of anything else. Is there, you want to know something else about me? I don't know what else is there to know about me?
Well, we covered everything I wanted to. Let me think.
I spent a few years down in Ohio.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did.
Want me to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, you did. I think we kind of glossed over it earlier, but
That was a good time in our life.
what were you doing there?
Helping your mother, Nancy, was in medical school, and she lost her nanny. And then we always told her, we're only 4 hours away. If you need us, call, we'll come and help you. And we were we were starting to get our house ready to sell, the one on Independence. And she called and said, could you come until I can find someone? So we did. And 7 years later, we came back to Lockport.
That was a great time. I really enjoyed spending that.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. You were the funniest kid. Loved when you went to kindergarten. You crawled underneath the table because you didn't like the teacher.
I always remember I would come home from school and every once in a while I'd find a pack of Pokemon cards or something on my pillow from you guys. You spoiled me a little bit.
You were a good boy. Your sister was difficult at times, but not bad difficult. She just had struggles. Yeah. She's doing good now.
Yeah, she's doing
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So that 7 years was not wasted. Went to a lot of schools.
Yeah. I was in quite a few different ones.
Huh?
I was in quite a few different schools.
Yeah.
There There was my preschool, my kindergarten.
I danced with in your preschool. Remember
The church, the white
in the
church.
church? You remember what the guy came all dressed as what? I can't think of it. Was it a dog or an elephant?
Oh, yes.
What was that?
It was like an elephant or something.
Yeah. And we all danced with him. Yeah. Yeah, that was cute.
Oh my gosh. I loved that preschool.
Mm-hmm.
The little garden out back and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. It was so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You didn't like Silver Lake. You
I
weren't.
didn't.
You weren't too fond of Silver Lake.
Really? I don't remember that.
Well, then when you moved, Grandpa used to bring it down to Silver Lake to fish.
Mm.
You like that?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Him and I would fish together a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we've covered everything in my 89 years. Been in this house, thanks to your mom and dad, for 11 years. So
Wow, it's been 11 years.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
we moved in the day that Hudson was born.
Really?
So I always know how long we've been
Wow.
here. And he's going to be 11 in August. Yeah.
And hold on, let me just fix this real quick. And there's one more question I have for you, and I think we can be all wrapped up. These batteries don't last quite as long. Gotta change them every once in a while. What's your daily routine? What do you do day to day? Walk me through a day.
What do I do daily? Well, let's see. Nothing. No, I get up, usually, I got up late today, but usually around 6:30, and I have a couple of cups of tea and watch the news and see what the weather is. Sometimes on Tuesdays, Jean and Judy, we go to lunch, and then we go down to see Aunt Alice at the VFW. And I really don't have much of a routine. I like to read. I read a lot. Thursdays I get my hair done. I have a very quiet life. And there's always somebody here.
Mm.
Somebody is always coming in, and sometimes we'll go to breakfast or just nothing. But I don't really have a routine that I do every day.
You just kind of.
I usually go to bed around 8 o'clock, and I watch a little bit of television while I'm in bed. I've been watching Netflix,
Mm.
a couple of stories that the girls told me to watch, and I did. And I don't know it's about it. Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, of course.
Of course.
Of course. And I survived Jeopardy without Alex Trebek
Oh boy.
because I like the guy that's on it.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now. But I don't know about Wheel of Fortune because I'm not too fond of the guy that's going to take over for.
That's a
Because
bummer.
they didn't ask me, so they hired him
They should
anyways. I kept telling them, no, not him, not him. He won't stay. He leaves every show he's on. But I don't really have a really routine. Dust, and I'm not allowed down cellar.
In your own house.
I had, last year, Aunt Judy was down cellar. She was painting some things for her, some doors for her house. And I went down the stairs, and I had an empty box in my hand. And I went down the stairs, and I thought that I was at the last,
You guys can come in. It's okay. Come on in.
Sorry, I thought you could.
No, I did it on purpose.
yeah. I thought I was at the last step, and I wasn't. And I toppled over.
You toppled over.
I did.
Peekaboo.
And so ever since then, I'm not allowed to go down the stairs. Sometimes I sneak down there. He wants to know about a routine. I don't have a routine, daily routine.
Really?
I just do whatever comes up.
We cry on the phone all the time.
Well, we're crying now. He had to ask me some questions. It's not fair.
You kind of have a routine. Gabby, come on in, honey. I have. Come on in. You get up in the morning and you sit with your iPad
Yeah,
and you look at all of the news from Facebook. She doesn't
Yeah.
post, but she always looks and sees what
I
all the funny
guess
things.
to see what's going
Shows all
on.
the happy things.
Yeah.
And then you scroll through that for a while. And then
Do you want to
get
sit?
tea.
Do you want to sit here?
No. And then she gets her tea.
2
Yeah.
cups. Only 2. Only
Yep,
2 cups.
And then she decides sometimes she's going to take a shower and sometimes she doesn't.
That's right.
Just whatever you
Depends
do.
on the
Sometimes
day.
she takes her jammies
Depends
off.
on the day.
Let's see. Thursdays you get your
Hair done. Friday.
Tuesdays you go down to the VFW.
Yeah. Fridays we go
The
to.
crew. Always Judy.
Yeah.
Sometimes Jeannie and Lynn.